This is the first year of this lecture series, which features talks by noted alumni about their life and accomplishments following their graduation from various departments in the Faculty of Science. These lectures grew out of discussions of the Faculty of Science Dean's External Advisory Council, or DSAC, which is an advisory body to the Dean of Science that was initiated in 2007 to provide advice and guidance in our efforts to engage external audiences, encourage and support strategic partnerships, and increase fundraising opportunities. DSAC is made up of engaged alumni who have graduated from Faculty of Science undergraduate and graduate programs, and all of our speakers in the first year of this series of lectures are members of DSAC. This afternoon our speaker is Mr. Mike Stark. Mike graduated from our computer science program just over 4 years ago. In that short time, he founded and is the owner, operator, and chief researcher for Control TPMS. Control TPMS is a company that created and now markets an enhanced tire pressure monitoring system used in monitoring pressures in giant earth mover tires, which are used in mining vehicles, among other applications. This is a system that I'm sure Mike will explain to you more fully. As I've come to know Mike through our advisory council, I learned that he is an exceptional young man with a passion for research and for entrepreneurship. I'm looking forward to hearing from Mike, so without further delay, it's now my pleasure to welcome Mike Stark.
Thank you, Dr. Titus. So, as you said, I'm Mike Stark. I'm the president and owner and chief researcher, chief bottle washer, I like to say, of Control TPMS. TPMS stands for Tire Pressure Monitoring System, for those who are not sure about that one. What we've developed over time is an enhanced tire pressure monitoring system for not only large tires, but pretty much every tire, as I'll explain as we go through. But first, I guess I'll give you a little history about where I came from, how I started, and how I came to Laurier. This was me back in high school. I loved Eddie Vedder, I loved Pearl Jam, Nirvana was my life. Music, guitar was my life. All I ever did was play guitar. I'd play guitar at school, I'd play guitar at home, I'd play all day, every day. I actually loved it so much, I was a little naive at the time, but I thought music was all I wanted to do. I was a little bit pressured from my parents to go to university, my mom being a school teacher. She put some pressure on that, so I decided to apply for music. It seemed like the logical choice. I actually applied here at Laurier for music, not knowing that music here means classical music, not Pearl Jam. Applied, couldn't play classical music, so was obviously denied any university entrance that year. But actually decided to, when I got told by my guidance counselor that I'd have to learn classical, went and took formal classical music lessons and tried to learn it all in 6 months and get into university level. Didn't make it. Was a little bummed, so I decided it was time to grow up. I cut my hair. I went and looked for a job. I got hired a couple blocks away from my house at a company called Modular Fluid Power. Modular Fluid Power was a small hydraulics company, and they would mostly sales, and they'd build hydraulic power units. I was actually hired there to sweep the floors. So I started the first day sweeping the floors at Modular Fluid Power. About 2 or 3 days later, as I was bored of sweeping these floors, one of the senior guys came up to me and started just chatting with me and wondering what I'd done at high school and where I kind of excelled to try to find a place for me. There'd been some recent openings and maybe some expansion that might happen. I told him I actually really liked electrical work and was really good with electronics, and I'd done well in some shop classes in high school. And so I was moved into the remote controls and radio controls department. And so they'd actually build remote controls for hydraulic trucks. You might see a truck with a big crane or big boom, and that might be controlled by a radio control. That might have been built by me 10 years ago or so. And I worked there for 3 years. And during that time, I started some continuing education at Conestoga College, which the company would help pay for upon completion. And so I took advantage of that and started a degree in mechatronics. Mechatronics is considered a mashup of electronics and mechanical work, and to put those two together. I didn't quite finish because I was accepted at Laurier. I was about 90% done, but doing it all continuing ed. But because I was accepted to Laurier, I decided to come here full-time after those 3 years. Now you can imagine trying to go from working every day, kind of a blue-collar worker. I had bought a truck. I was living on my own. I was that blue-collar type guy. I've been out of school for 3 years, so I was in a different mindset than a lot of these other kids. Here I was accepted to Laurier for computer science and computer engineering. So I realized that to keep up my lifestyle that I'd come to realize after 3 years, I'd also have to work while going to university. So even though I started here, first year I remember was like 40 hours of classes and plus lab time and homework above that. I still took a job. I started as an electrician's helper, and so during the day I'd come here about 8:30 in the morning, 8:30 in the morning I'd be here. I'd work till about 5 or 6 at night, which time I'd take a nap for a few hours. At 11 o'clock I'd start as an electrician's helper. It might be the local Walmart or Zellers or something like that. We'd go in and start wiring some lights or some network cables or whatnot. And I do that till about 3 or 4 in the morning or 5 or 6 in the morning, depending. Go back to sleep for a few hours that I could get, and then go back to school the next day. So a lot of catch up on the weekends for that time. I realized that that was kind of burning me out pretty quickly. So I found a job at Better Beef. I was a shipper, and that job would start at about 11 o'clock again. But this time I'd be done for sure by 4 a.m. And that was much, much better. And only being 3 days a week, I could make the same money I was making as an electrician. It seemed to fit a little better, and I was able to stay in school. By the end of second year, I'd moved permanently here to Waterloo, and I actually acquired a job at Manulife and started working there. I actually started in their mortgages department. I'm bilingual. I finished my French credits at high school, and so I was hired in their mortgage department to be a bilingual mortgage loan approver. I was actually allowed to approve mortgages. And during that time, probably during the last part of fourth year, I was approached by some individuals at Royal Tire in Sudbury, as well as Goodyear Canada for their off-road division. They approached myself and my uncle, who used to also work in remotes with me, and they were talking about a looming tire shortage that was coming in 2005. And so this was probably January 2004. They were talking about this, and they knew, they had already been planning for it, that this was coming, and what they wanted to find was some sort of monitoring device that they could use for large tires in all the mines across Canada, basically. So I thought this was a fantastic idea, and decided with my uncle that we would get together upon graduation, and I would start development by working for his company. And so I graduated in the spring of 2005, and I started with Control Fluid Power at that point, which was my uncle's already established business as, again, a hydraulics business. And we mainly did sales. I started there as, I was turning wrenches. I was like a mechanic. I was building hydraulic power units for crushers in the mines. And in the spare time I had between building these units, I actually started development on the tire pressure monitoring system.